I'm a researcher and academic at Curtin University Sustainability Policy Institute, and I'm also the founder and managing director at Climate Clever, which is an edtech startup that's looking at climate change. I'm talking to the students about the opportunities and the challenges that we're facing around climate change and particularly all the opportunities around careers in order to address climate change, because it is such a big challenge and it needs a lot more smarter, brighter, young things actually being interested in it and wanting to solve it. So I moved over to Amsterdam. Which country is Amsterdam in? Anyone know? Amsterdam. Netherlands, yep, good one. And so I did a Masters of Science in Environment and Resource Management. And the thing I was really interested in was the specialisation in energy studies. But when I got there, I moved over and I was filling in all the forms, and they said to me, "Oh, I don't think you should do this energy studies specialisation because your bachelor degree was a Bachelor of Arts in Nature Tourism, and we think it might be a bit technical for you. So maybe you should do the other specialisation, which is policy or something." And that was like holding up a red flag to a bull, because I was like, "Who are you to say that I can't do it and I'm not capable of doing it? Just because I didn't do it in my previous degree doesn't mean I can't do it." So I got really angry and I said, I really want to do it, and that's the reason I've come over here to do this whole course. And so they let me do it, and it was fine, and I got great marks in it, and I learned all about the different types of energy, not just renewables. From there I moved over to Stockholm, which is in so yeah, Stockholm's in Sweden. So it was my third country where they didn't speak English, which was a really great experience. So I did my thesis there as part of that degree in Amsterdam on personal carbon trading. Does anyone want to have a stab at what personal carbon trading might be as a concept? Anyway, it was basically saying you all have a carbon card, and every time you pay your electricity bill, or every time you fill up petrol at the petrol station, a certain amount of carbon gets deducted from your card. And then if you have a huge, big house and you drive a lot and you fly a lot, it might mean that you have to buy more carbon to compensate for the fact that you're consuming so much, whereas someone else might. So I moved to Fremantle, and I got a job with Curtin University. My professor there offered me to run coordinate a research project. It was called Decarbonising Cities and Regions. And then as part of that, he said, you have to do your PhD. And does anyone know what a PhD is? PhD is a Doctor of Philosophy. So you become a doctor at the end, but you're not a medical doctor. You're actually a philosophical doctor on a specific topic. So mine was around sustainability and decarbonisation. And then I also started lecturing in climate policy and decarbonising cities. So it was a fantastic experience. Really enjoyed. I never would have thought that when I left school that I would become an academic at a university. I never thought I would be smart enough to do a PhD, but it's very much it's all about perseverance and determination and getting through. But at the time I was doing my PhD, I also I volunteered to help a local high school. It was South Fremantle Senior High School. They wanted to become carbon neutral. Does anyone know what want to have a guess at what carbon neutral? No. so this school, because they were doing all that, they've saved hundreds of thousands of dollars on their utility bills, so across electricity, gas, water and waste. They've obviously reduced their carbon footprint, and they've educated their students around climate change and how to be more efficient, as well as educating their communities. Because the cool thing is, you guys then can take that knowledge home and teach your parents about how to be more efficient. So we saw a problem and we saw an opportunity. So that was what we set out to address, and I was really inspired by that. So I started thinking, how can we help more schools to do that in a scalable way? So we ended up doing a pilot program with 15 schools. So we went from 1 school to 15 schools. And we got some funding, so I had a student who was going to do her PhD on that, and we basically helped these schools to calculate their carbon footprint and measure and track and monitor their consumption as well as their costs and their carbon, and then we helped them create an action plan. So all those things, like what could you do in this room, for example? I do think I have one of the best jobs in the world. As a researcher, I get to travel a lot and meet with other researchers around the world. I get to go to conferences. I love being at the cutting edge of research and discovering new things. And I love also being an entrepreneur on the side, because it means I can put into action a lot of the things that I'm researching. I'm really passionate about wanting to make an impact and leave the world a better place. So what I really love about my job is that I'm working towards that goal. STEM skills are extremely important in my industry. It crosses so many different areas. I mean, if you think about climate science, you've got a lot of the natural sciences in there, but as well as technology. We need more renewable energy, for example, and batteries. We're seeing a lot of things coming out and around there. So it really does cross over, your science and technology, engineering and maths. We've got so many problems to solve within this area, and it's going to require all those skills. I guess what I would say to students is don't be disheartened if you don't feel like you are extremely knowledgeable in one particular area. I loved biology, for example, but I wasn't very good in it. And, at times I guess I thought, oh, well, I guess I'm not going to be a scientist. But realising that there's so many different areas of science and STEM, you can always go into a different area. And we're so lucky in Australia that we can, change degrees and go in and keep adding more and different skill sets on top of it, that you can do anything, and just believe in yourself.